Study without desire spoils the memory, and it retains nothing that it takes in. Painting is poetry that is seen rather than felt, and poetry is painting that is felt rather than seen. Once you have tasted flight, you will forever walk the earth with your eyes turned skyward, for there you have been, and there you will always long to return. A painter should begin every canvas with a wash of black, because all things in nature are dark except where exposed by the light. It had long since come to my attention that people of accomplishment rarely sat back and let things happen to them. They went out and happened to things. Nothing strengthens authority so much as silence. I love those who can smile in trouble. One can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery of oneself. The noblest pleasure is the joy of understanding. I have from an early age abjured the use of meat, and the time will come when men such as I will look upon the murder of animals as they now look upon the murder of men. Nothing can be loved or hated unless it is first understood. Art is never finished, only abandoned. As a well-spent day brings happy sleep, so life well used brings happy death. If you are alone, you belong entirely to yourself. If you are accompanied by even one companion, you belong only half to yourself, or even less in proportion to the thoughtlessness of his conduct. And if you have more than one companion, you will fall more deeply into the same plight. I love those who can smile in trouble, who can gather strength from distress, and grow brave by reflection. 'Tis the business of little minds to shrink, but they whose heart is firm, and whose conscience approves their conduct, will pursue their principles unto death. Learning never exhausts the mind. The knowledge of all things is possible. The greatest deception men suffer is from their own opinions. There are three classes of people: those who see when they are shown, those who do not see. Principles for the development of a complete mind. Study the science of art. Study the art of science. Develop your senses, especially learn how to see. Realize that everything connects to everything else. I have been impressed with the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Being willing is not enough, we must do. It is easier to resist at the beginning than at the end. The deeper the feeling, the greater the pain. The function of muscle is to pull and not to push, except in the case of the genitals and the tongue. As you cannot do what you want what you can do. One has no right to love or hate anything if one has not acquired a thorough knowledge of its nature. Great love springs from great knowledge of the beloved object, and if you know it but little, you will be able to love it only a little or not at all. I thought I was learning to live. I was only learning to die. The time will come when men such as I will look upon the murder of animals as they now look on the murder of men. The artist sees what others only catch a glimpse of. Iron rusts from disuse, stagnant water loses its purity, and in cold weather becomes frozen. Even so does inaction sap the vigors of the mind. Realize that everything connects to everything else. An average human looks without seeing, listens without hearing, touches without feeling, eats without tasting, moves without physical awareness, inhales without awareness of odor or fragrance, and talks without thinking. Make your work to be in keeping with your purpose. Where the spirit does not work with the hand, there is no art. I have offended God and mankind because my work didn't reach the quality it should have. All our knowledge has its origin in our perceptions. God sells us all things at the price of labor. Learn how to see. Realize that everything connects to everything else. All sciences are vain and full of errors that are not born of experience, the mother of all knowledge. A poet knows he has achieved perfection not when there is nothing left to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. Our life is made by the death of others. I awoke only to find that the rest of the world was still asleep. Learning is the only thing the mind never exhausts, never fears, and never regrets. Once you have tasted the taste of sky, you will forever look up. My body will not be a tomb for other creatures. Blinding ignorance does mislead us. Oh, wretched mortals, open your eyes. He who loves practice without theory is like the sailor who boards ship, without a rudder and compass and never knows where he may cast. Obstacles cannot crush me. Every obstacle yields to stern resolve. In rivers, the water that you touch is the last of what has passed and the first of that which comes, so with present time. Art is the queen of all sciences, communicating knowledge to all the generations of the world. Why does the eye see more clearly when asleep than the imagination when awake? He who wishes to be rich within a day will be hanged within a year. Marriage is like putting your hand into a bag of snakes in the hope of pulling out an eel. The acquisition of knowledge is always of use to the intellect, because it may thus drive out useless things and retain the good. For nothing can be loved or hated unless it is first known. Anyone who conducts an argument by appealing to authority is not using his intelligence, he is just using his memory. As every divided kingdom falls, so every mind divided between many studies confounds and saps itself. The painter will produce pictures of little merit if he takes the works of others as his standard. Truth at last cannot be hidden. Dissimulation is of no avail. Dissimulation is to no purpose before so great a judge. Falsehood puts on a mask. Nothing is hidden under the sun. Men of lofty genius, when they are doing the least work, are most active. To develop a complete mind, study the science of art, study the art of science. Learn how to see. Realize that everything connects to everything else. The mind that engages in subjects of too great variety becomes confused and weakened. He who does not punish evil commands it to be done. Many have made a trade of delusions and false miracles, deceiving the stupid multitudes. While human ingenuity may devise various inventions to the same ends, it will never devise anything more beautiful, nor more simple, nor more to the purpose than nature does, because in her inventions nothing is lacking and nothing is superfluous. If you find from your own experience that something is a fact and it contradicts what some authority has written down, then you must abandon the authority and base your reasoning on your own findings. The worst evil which can befall the artist is that his work should appear good in his own eyes. Truly man is the king of beasts, for his brutality exceeds them. We live by the death of others. We are burial places. Just as a well-filled day brings blessed sleep, so a well-employed life brings a blessed death. Man has much power of discourse, which for the most part is vain and false. Animals have but little, but it is useful and true, and a small truth is better than a great lie. Those who, in debate, appeal to their qualifications, argue from memory, not from understanding. It is an acknowledged fact that we perceive errors in the work of others more readily than in our own. Experience does not err. Only your judgments err by expecting from her what is not in her power. The eye sees a thing more clearly in dreams than the imagination awake. The supreme misfortune is when theory outstrips performance. The human bird shall take his first flight, filling the words with amazement, all writings with his fame, and bringing eternal glory to those whose nest whence he sprang. A wave is never found alone, but is mingled with the other waves. The men of experiment are like the ant, they only collect and use. But the bee gathers its materials from the flowers of the garden and of the field, but transforms and digests it by a power of its own. In time and with water, everything changes,